All right, everyone, welcome to Rhythm and Roads. I'm your host, Joshua Jacob. This is the Femme Frontera Film Festival interview series. It's happening this weekend. We have a special guest. We have Tempest Creation. She did the documentary of Anarchy artists. So, welcome, Tempest.
Hi, Josh. I'm super happy to be here.
Pleasure to
Uh,
have you on.
yeah.
And you're based out in New York?
So I'm based in Queens, New York. I'm originally
Oh,
from San Francisco, California.
oh,
So
whoa.
yeah.
Wow. That's
Uh,
cool.
yeah, I moved here maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I've been making films in the city for that kind of span of time.
Dang. So, I mean, so knowing you lived in California and now you're in New York, have you done
Mhm.
films in both cities?
Yeah, so I've been making films for about 10 years. I started when I was like 14.
Very
And
cool.
I was a part of this public arts high school in
Okay.
San Francisco called Ruth Asawa School of the Arts. And in that school, we were able to do 2 hours a day of film studies or filmmaking, depending on the class. And I had some really incredible teachers and mentors. Scott Eberhardt and Salome Milstead, who I don't, Scott is still working there, but Salome is not anymore.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I've been making films since then. Um, so I'd like to say 10 years. I spent a lot of that time being a youth and making, silly student projects.
Okay.
Uh, and this is the first time with Anarchy Artists that I've been doing the film festival circuit to show my work.
Wow. Well, very cool. I love the story. What a journey from the 10 years, huh?
hmm
Well, I do want to ask though, so what was all right, let's get to more about you. So what was the transition or why did you move from California to New York?
COVID. So I was originally I was in college and I was originally going to UC Santa Cruz.
Okay.
And at UC Santa Cruz, I was studying environmental studies, which is actually very common there. And uh, I was living there with a bunch of roommates in COVID. I started transitioning.
Oh,
And I decided that it would be best for me to move to New York for my kind of overall well-being, to be in community with other queer people. Just because Santa Cruz is like a super small town. It kind of has like small town hippie vibes, which is its own, it's beautiful, but
good.
wasn't where I needed to be in that moment. And then I ended up transferring to a college in New York City, still pursuing completing an environmental studies degree. And during that time, I really switched a lot of my focus to be on filmmaking. And so I was like spending half my time at school and then half my time making movies with like friends and collaborators and other people. Mostly just for like internet or like marketing purposes. And then
Mm.
um, that actually started Anarchy Artists because I made that project. I shot that project. Let's be clear. I shot that project when I was, I think 22, 21. And so that was in 2022 to 2023-ish.
Okay.
And I was working on it for a class, basically. And it kind of ended up taking on a life of its own outside of school. And I kind of re-looked at the documentary in last year in 2024 and
Okay.
like really revamped it and made it into its own project.
Which we're talking about the anarchy artist. To that.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, very interesting timeline.
Yes.
I've
Uh,
never been to New York, but I would love to go because I mean, God, just to be able to shoot out there of the different films and scenes and just the land, like just different parts, I think would be great to just make little short films out.
Yeah, I mean, there's a really large kind of right now, there's a huge experimental film scene going on, which is kind of where a lot of my work was based on. And
Oh, okay.
so I was, um, making a lot of experimental works when I first got to New York, and there was a lot of space there, and there currently is a lot of space for people who are working in kind of avant-garde experimental genres,
Mm,
showing their work, which I wouldn't say is possible in a lot of other cities. Um, yeah.
wow, very cool. I'm glad that you're out there able to do that.
Woo.
And I bet the weather's probably like so beautiful, just so cool.
It's really nice right now. It's 80 degrees.
Yeah,
Um,
better
I
than
do have
we
my AC blasting because I'm from San Francisco, so I cannot handle any heat.
have. Oh, that's true. Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
was in California this past weekend in Anaheim area, and God,
Mm,
weather was just amazing. It was like 70 degrees,
yeah, Anaheim's beautiful.
and then the overcast. I'm like, damn it, why can't I live here?
Well, I don't know why you couldn't, but that's up to you.
Oh, I mean, yeah. Well, hopefully, my brother's actually out there. He's in La Mirada, which is near Anaheim, so he's in La
Mhm.
Mirada with roommates.
Ugh,
Yeah. Anyway.
winter economy.
All right. Well, let's get into your story of the Anarchy artist. So, what was your inspiration behind wanting to do this project, and who is it inspired by?
So, I mean, obviously, you have the subject who's centered in the film Anne, anarchy artist. And the project, was coming out of this classroom where we were discussing a lot about what it means to be a trans woman and what it means to be a a performance artist, what it means to be a trans person in specifically the city.
Mm,
And so I was kind of considering initially this project as an archival piece, which is why I ended up reworking it last year,
mhm.
is that I was more interested in documenting these queer nightlife spaces and just having that footage and then also making that footage publicly available. Um, and I was considering a lot about how um, uh, documentary's relationship with trans women and trans women of color specifically, and how um, oftentimes uh, the people who are the subjects of the documentary don't actually have a say in producing, editing, or um, how they're being displayed on screen. There's a whole debacle with Paris is Burning and the ballroom scene in New York City, where the current, this is obviously has a range of opinions and experiences, but generally known in ballroom that Paris is Burning was an exploitative documentary. And so I was looking at that film, looking at the way it was shot, looking at the way that it was considering certain bodies and certain spaces. And I was thinking a lot about how I can kind of redirect the image and um, to be focused on highlighting um, the subject of the film and having her kind of guide the story and the narrative of the film
Okay.
instead of imposing my own kind of vision
Okay.
of what the story and narrative was going to be.
Interesting. And what made you want to choose Anna again?
Anne was like
Or Anne?
the producer's friend.
Oh,
And
okay.
so what we originally were looking at was just like queer nightlife spaces in
Mm,
general.
okay.
Specifically, if you see in the film, she's um, working at the Box, which is this kind of like it's basically a strip club.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
strip club
Yeah.
that is also a drag performance art kind of space that has like, and so the clients are very, are varied and it's very difficult to get in.
Mm.
I would say it has a lot of like international people coming in. And it specifically has queer go-go dancers
Oh,
and
okay.
drag artists. And so initially, we were documenting this queer nightlife space in Manhattan, even though we didn't have permits.
Oh, wow. Look at you,
Uh,
risk taker.
we were just doing a little risky stuff. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, just a little.
like if they had seen us with a camera, they would have kicked us out, basically. Um, and so, there's some footage in the film that's like shot on an iPhone. Like that's
Uh,
partially because like I literally, couldn't take a video without
oh yeah.
getting in trouble in the space. And then there was a lot of footage that was in Lebain, which is kind of at the climax of the film, which is
Okay.
another nightlife space. Um, and we got a bunch of footage of a ton of different performance artists. And so originally in the initial cut of the film, we were looking at Anne. Anne was talking about kind of queer nightlife and the ways that queer people kind of navigate nighttime,
Mhm.
and parties and stuff like that. And we had also this like beautiful footage of these other queer performers. And so, but what ended up happening in order to make this more of a narrative experience, um, in 2024, I kind of cut everything back together and down to be just centering and story in a very tight and specific way so that we don't kind of get lost in this queer nightlife world and we are still
Mm.
instead kind of just like engaging with this specific subject and character. Um, yeah, I hope that wasn't too
Oh
long-winded.
no, you're no, that's cool. So yeah, you shot some of it with an iPhone while you were that way you're not getting caught with a big Sony FX6.
Yeah, I mean, so everything was shot on Ursa, which is my Ursa,
Okay.
which is kind of an outdated camera at this point, but that's how I got it for cheap. Um, but we shot most of it with an Ursa, and then for a couple of the shots that we got inside of the box, which is like
Right.
one or two shots, I was just shooting like I had like a little pocket in the front of my coat, and I just like
Oh, no way, really?
yeah, yeah. I mean, you got to
Wow.
do things to just get the shot in a lot of ways. Um,
That's creative.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we were able to get into the space and we were able to shoot. They let us shoot in the dressing room, which was very, very kind of them.
Oh, okay, cool.
They were like, you can't shoot because she works there. So she was like,
Wow.
can we just shoot in the dressing room? They're like, fine. But we couldn't bring the camera into the main space while the party was happening because there's a lot of people there who maybe don't want to be seen
Right.
in this space, you know, that's known for having queer people
Mm.
and is also very like high end and expensive to get into.
Dang,
Um,
really?
so yes, yes. And so yeah, I shot some of it on iPhone. It's mostly shot on the Ursa. Um, I had a wonderful, and some of it shot on a Sony A7 III, I think.
Hmm.
Um, I had a wonderful DP. Her name was Emma Markison. Um, and kind of she was in charge of we had a 10-hour day where she was shooting
Dang.
like handheld with an Ursa, which is not a light camera.
I
And
bet
we
it's
went
not.
and we went across the city. So we went from Brooklyn to Manhattan, maybe like it's like an hour and a half
Wow.
ride. And you actually see this ride in the film where
Yeah.
she's Anne is putting on her makeup. She always puts on her makeup in the subway car in
Okay.
case she's like running late for something or whatever. So she's doing her makeup while after we get on the train. So we were shooting that entire time, and she was just like a total trooper and carrying it throughout the whole day.
That's cool. Wow.
Yeah,
And I want to ask you, what was your most memorable experience doing this documentary of filming it?
of
I know it's
filming. I
well, just
mean,
the journey of it. I mean, it doesn't have to be like,
yeah,
yeah, just the
no,
journey.
no, no. I mean. Yeah, filming. I mean, I'm just like I was so young. I think, I think, I mean, one of the most memorable things is like you take a film and like it takes, has a life of its own and it takes its own journey. And also that it may take years for you to like actually put something complete together. Um,
Wait, so you're sharing sorry, I asked what was the most memorable experience making this documentary?
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
so that's okay, because I heard years. I was like,
No,
took years?
no, it did take years.
Oh,
It
I
took,
did. Oh, shoot.
yeah,
Okay.
it took years.
Oh
I mean, it
man,
didn't
I'm
take
really
years to
interested in it.
shoot, but it did take years to like
Wow.
post production to actually get it to a place that I was like, because I had to mature as a filmmaker, I think a lot of
Oh, okay.
days. Um, and so, we had the footage, we got a cut of the film, but it wasn't ever in a place. And it took a couple years for it to get to a place where I was
Dang,
like,
is that
okay,
right?
this
Wow.
is where I'm like satisfied with that. Um, and also where it's just like, oh, okay, like now as an older filmmaker, I can say, oh, okay, this needs to be tighter. This needs to be, I know I was the editor on the piece, so I was like very, deliberate in the ways that I wanted to
You
cut the.
wanted it to look, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted it to feel
Mm.
and the ways I wanted to look. I think the most memorable experience I had shooting, um, well, I mean, the final part in Lebain I shot on Halloween in 2022, and I was shooting on a Sony A7S III, if that's a real camera, and I didn't just say something, which
Well, it
is a
is
little
now. It's in real one
extra.
now.
I was by myself, so
Yeah.
it was me and the producer, and we were just like, they basically went to like make sure we could get in the space and because it was, and then I just had a camera, and so I was in this club with a camera where you're not really supposed to have a camera.
Right.
Um, and I got these like really incredible shots of just like this kind of generally regarded as like upper echelon queer safe space
Hmm.
of of these like kind of fabulous looks and these incredible performances that I don't think, I don't know if anyone's gotten footage of this kind of
Wow.
stuff. And it was exhausting. It was like it was a really intense experience.
Oh, I bet.
And I ended up like when I went home, it was like 2 a.m. and it rained on me. And I
It
had
rained on
camera
you?
gear. It was rain. I was like taking the train home, and
Oh,
my
man.
like I don't live in Manhattan, so I live in Queens.
Yeah.
And I was like carrying all this like kind of expensive gear that I had to get to
Wow.
the people I was renting from. And I was I was like I was full of adrenaline. I was
Yeah.
like full of adrenaline from shooting, and then I was like just getting drenched in the rain.
Oh,
And it was Halloween night, and
man. That was Halloween night too?
yes, yeah, yeah. I
Wow.
like
What a
I
setting for
spent
it,
my
huh?
Halloween doing that instead of like partying like you're
What
supposed to
a,
do on Halloween, trick or treating.
yeah, what a trip.
Yeah.
Oh, well, love it. Thanks for sharing that.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
wow, very cool. Interesting. Halloween, getting rain, carrying expensive equipment, full of adrenaline. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah. I hope you at least
It's
have
very
candy for
exciting.
Halloween.
Huh?
So I hope you at least have one piece of candy during Halloween.
I don't know if I
Oh
did.
my God.
I don't know if I did. I think I was just like raw dogging it.
I just made it as a joke because it's Halloween. Everyone
Yeah.
just like hope someone at least gave you a candy.
No. No one gave
All
me candy.
right. Well,
I mean, Femme Frontera Film Festival is giving me, the candy that I need. So,
what?
well, it's not, they're not literally giving me
Oh,
candy, giving me the respect and I
yeah,
think
yeah. No, I get it.
audience that I think the film deserves.
Exactly. And awesome. And see, and that's one interesting thing. I did not know this documentary took longer than a year. I mean, sometimes I've asked directors on how long it took to make one. Oh, about a year, year and a half. But I mean, you said years. So that, and what I like is how you actually took your time with it. You weren't rushing it. You actually were developing your skills as a filmmaker to want to make sure your own project was like where you wanted it to be, but also that you were learning along the way to make sure it was what you wanted.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
mean, it wasn't the only project that I was working on at that time. And I was working on like I had finished that film and I like or like I had done a cut of it and then like, was looking at it in post, doing some extra sound design here and there when I
uh,
had the time, working on a bunch of other projects, you know, and because that's just how my life is. I'm finishing a project right now. Like it's just how it
very
is.
cool. Yeah.
Um, and I, you know, you get to see it in front of an audience. It's kind of a different experience. I had
Mm.
a couple test screenings. People were watching it, and I was like, okay, like, that's like a necessary step, I think, as a filmmaker, is that you have these screenings with people and that you get to see your work have a reaction and like how, you know, and I think my first reaction, or like the first reaction I got from audience was like, this is boring. And
Really?
okay. Yeah, I mean, it was like much longer and it's a bunch of archival footage. I was thinking about like my own kind of academic and theoretical understanding of like what it means to document a queer
Okay.
performance space. But I wasn't, and I was thinking about narrative, but I was also like, indulging myself a little.
That's good.
And I was like, oh shit, I need to like make this tight and like
Yeah.
actually, have this be a full film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm very curious now. What is next for Tempest? What's the next project?
So I'm finishing this week. It's on Finishing Sound,
Mhm.
film called Birth of the Hive Queen, which is the narrative. So I'm working on my first narrative film. It's about a trans sex worker who gives birth out of her asshole. So it's very crazy. It's been a bit of a crazy production and
Mhm.
post-production. Um, and that is hopefully gonna have a festival run this year, probably going into next year. Um, I had some really incredible cast and crew with me on this project, and uh, it has a lot of my heart right now in it. And so that's getting finished up. I've got other kind of like things in development. Some things that I'm writing, some things that I'm working on. I think right now what I'm doing is I'm pushing a little bit more towards narrative film.
Are you?
Just
Okay.
because, yeah, documentary is really a beautiful art form,
Oh,
and it's very, very hard. I think also, I mean, all of it's hard. All
yeah.
of filmmaking is hard. But documentary in particular has a lot of, you have to be very, very patient. Um, and um, there's a lot of things you don't have control over. So for me, Birth of the Hive Queen is like my kind of bringing the worlds that I'm trying to construct, that I have constructed in my documentary and
Mhm.
experimental work, and trying to bring it over into the narrative space. Um, and I think with this project, I got a lot more time to think about, you know, um, the environment. I was pulling a lot of things from my studies at school. Um, and I was thinking about kind of how trans people engage with nature,
Okay.
um, and specifically like our ability and or inability really to like conceive or
Mhm.
to give birth. And I think a lot of people relate to the idea that um, we were able to have certain kinds of gender affirming care within a certain limitation. And so the film is kind of opening up a broader conversation about, what if there was an expansion of our, instead of thinking, kind of closed-minded of like, how do we get the rights that we, have barely made in this country?
Yeah.
Instead thinking like, how do we actually expand our access to gender affirming care? How do
Yeah.
we how do we actually actualize our genders and our experiences? Um, and so in the film, the woman, uh, kind of has this like magical conception moment. Like she doesn't have a uterus, she doesn't have a vagina, but she's able to give birth purely out of her own biology. Um, and so I was thinking a lot about how do I, take the work that I've already kind of built, take these ideas that I've really been thinking about, which is, um, how trans people actualize our identities, right? Anarchy Artist is ostensibly actually about
Hmm.
how drag and performance art and even just like basic hand expression
Right.
is an actualization of trans identities and gender affirming life. And so for Birth of the Hive Queen, I was thinking about how do we like bring this into something more magical, more future? How do we like have actual gender affirming care? How do we move past performance and move into biology?
Mm.
So that's the next step for me.
Wow, what a next step.
Thank you,
Got a lot
Josh.
on your hands for this one.
I know, yeah, and I did, and I did,
What a
and it's almost
challenge.
done, and it's almost done, and I did challenge myself.
That's good.
There's a live baby, there's
Wow.
live animals, which you're not supposed to do in independent film.
Man,
There's
you are a risk taker,
football.
huh? Jeez.
There's blood everywhere. It's yeah.
Wow. And when do you think this is going to come out?
Um, Probably it will be making its film festival debut sometime in October.
Oh, this year.
Um,
Okay.
so this year, fingers crossed.
Right, right.
All could be, I try not to be like, this will definitely do this or this will definitely
Yeah.
isn't able to do that because I think that'll be like a limiting way of thinking about it. But if you are in New York City, you will likely be able to see it this year. If you are not in New York City, I don't know.
Right,
Within the
good
next
luck.
years, it will have some kind of distribution.
Okay. Well, we'll look forward to seeing it. I mean, well, I know you'll post about it like once it's actually going to start showing. But for
Yes.
this one, the Anarchy Artist, when is
Mhm.
it going to be showing at the film fest here in El Paso?
So, Anarchy Artist will be showing at 2:15 on Sunday at the LGBTQIA plus block
Okay.
called Proudly Me. It's going to be the first film screening, so you got to get your
Wow,
butts to the
first.
seat. Um, and it's going to be shown with a lot of other beautiful queer um, films and docs. And yeah, go see it if you are in El Paso.
Nice. Well, just want to say before we stop the episode here, how can the viewers find you on social media so they can keep updated on your future work?
So I'm currently only active on Instagram. Sorry, guys.
No, that's fine. Same here.
I don't believe in the other ones, and I
Okay.
don't have energy or time. I barely have energy and time for Instagram, but you can find me at
Same.
Tempest Creation. That's TEMPESTCREATION. And I post regularly about my upcoming screenings. Um, and if you are in the New York area, you will likely be able to see one of my films,
Cool.
um, every month or so.
Right. Well, awesome. Well, thank you, Tempest Creation, for coming on Rhythm and Rose during the Femme Frontera Film Festival interview series. Such a pleasure to get to know you. And congrats on your film, Anarchy Artist, showing Sunday, June 8th.
Thank you.
That's going to be cool.
Thank you,
But
Josh.
yes, follow Tempest on social media. Also follow Instagram. With my Instagram is Rhythm and Rose Official. That's something I just started. Got it with it verified, so now it's official. I know, but I would love support for all the guests and also my work. It would be appreciated. So thank you. But yes, it was great to get to know you, Tempest. Wish you all the best and remember to live the impossible. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Josh.
Cody.